How's it going? Today I wanted to talk about boredom and procrastination. The first thing I'm going to bring up is, do you ever notice how bored people say they are? I feel like I constantly hear my friends and myself say that we're always bored and there isn't anything to do. But I mean, your phone alone can entertain you for hours. Videos, messages, games, whatever. And somehow, people still claim that they're bored. And it's not just boredom, it's that feeling where you actually want to do something, but you kind of just can't. You sit there thinking about it, maybe even planning it, and somehow the actual action never begins. So instead of treating boredom like a personal failure, maybe we should look at the environment we're living in. Today, I want to talk about why so many of us feel bored or stuck, and how short form media, having too many choices, and a weird modern kind of procrastination all play a role in this. Short form videos are everywhere nowadays: TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. You know the drill. The stuff that feeds you a new clip every few seconds. And honestly, our brains have become addicted to it. It's entertaining, easy, and instantly gratifying. But here's the catch: when you get used to something changing every 10 seconds, normal stuff starts to feel excruciatingly slow. Even something you might normally enjoy, like reading a book, learning a skill, or even just playing a long video game, can feel boring in comparison. Your brain expects constant stimulation, so the slower real life things don't feel exciting. And it's kind of sneaky because it doesn't make you lazy, it just rewires what your brain thinks is interesting. I think a lot of people don't even notice it's happening. They'll sit there scrolling or watching short clips and think, wow, I am so bored. But really, it's just your attention span being trained to want instant rewards. And the more you feed it, the harder it gets to enjoy anything slower or more involved. It's like trying to play a story game as someone who has only ever played FPS games. Recently, I learned about decision fatigue, which is surprisingly common. Basically, your brain has a limited amount of mental energy each day. Every decision, big or small, uses a little bit of it. What to eat, what video to watch, what game to play, what title to use, whether to start working or scroll one more minute, it all adds up. After a while, your brain will get tired and start taking shortcuts. Modern life gives us literally endless options. There's hundreds of games to play, thousands of shows to watch, countless hobbies to pick up, and even just ways to spend a weekend. You'd think having all these choices would be freeing, but it's actually exhausting. When your brain has to constantly make decisions, it gets tired and experiences that decision fatigue. You might sit down to start a project and instantly feel overwhelmed because you're thinking about all the other things you could be doing. So instead of picking something up and committing to it, the easiest choice is just do nothing. Scroll through your phone, watch random videos, or just sit there staring at the ceiling. I've done this a ton myself. Opening YouTube, scrolling for 10 minutes, and suddenly nothing looks interesting. That's not laziness, it's your brain being overloaded with options. And when making a decision becomes mentally exhausting, procrastination sneaks in almost automatically. You end up stuck in this loop of, I want to do something, but your brain keeps whispering to you, well, maybe not. Another thing we should discuss is something called productivity paralysis. This is where procrastination pretends to be productive, and it's super modern. People spend hours watching how to be productive videos, reorganizing their planner, researching the best method for completing the task, or making lists of what they should do next, and yet, somehow, they still haven't started the actual thing they were planning. The weird thing is, this feels like progress. You can tell yourself, I'm working on getting ready to start, and it does kind of count, but in reality, you're just delaying action. People wait for the perfect moment, the perfect mood, or the perfect plan, and that moment never comes. The task itself seems scary or overwhelming, so preparation becomes a safe way to avoid it. Part of the reason this happens is fear of failure. A lot of people are so worried about making mistakes or looking bad that they don't take enough action at all. And here's the thing: failure isn't something to avoid. Failure is often the best teacher you can find. It shows you what works and what doesn't. It helps you improve faster than planning ever could. And this is where procrastination stops being just a bad habit and starts becoming something deeper. Because when you constantly avoid moving forward, life begins to lose its sense of meaning. Days blur, goals feel distant, and you slowly become a spectator in your own story instead of the person actually living it. Over time, that stagnation shapes your character in quiet ways. You start doubting your discipline, questioning your potential, and accepting a smaller version of yourself just because it feels safer than trying and failing. It's not that you don't want more, it's that repeated inaction slowly convinces you that more isn't meant for you, which creates this hollow feeling where nothing feels fully earned or deeply fulfilling. Philosophers often talk about purpose being built through struggle and intentional action, and without that movement, life can start to feel strangely empty, like you're existing without truly progressing. You might find yourself chasing quick distractions just to fill the silence, but those moments fade fast, leaving behind that lingering thought that you're capable of something greater, yet somehow standing still, or even moving backwards. And the scariest part is how normal that emptiness can start to feel, like you've adjusted to a life that's smaller than what you imagined. But even if you've fallen deep into the short attention spans, endless scrolling, and the years of procrastination, it's never a life sentence. Because identity isn't something that's fixed, and direction can change the moment you decide to move differently. People rebuild themselves all the time through small acts of courage, choosing effort when comfort calls louder, and taking one imperfect step at a time that slowly restores meaning and momentum. And once you realize that fulfillment isn't lost, just buried under layers of hesitation, you start to see that bouncing back isn't some dramatic transformation. It's simply the decision to begin again, one intentional action at a time, leading naturally into the question your future self is waiting for you to answer. What will happen when you finally choose to move? When you step back and combine everything I've talked about, it starts to make a lot more sense why so many of us feel stuck, bored, or mentally drained all the time. But maybe boredom isn't actually the enemy we think it is. Maybe it's the empty space where creativity is waiting for you to finally make something instead of just consuming everything around you. Feeling stuck isn't some personal failure or proof that you're lazy. It's often just your brain reacting to constant stimulation, endless choices, and the pressure to be perfect before you even begin. Once you understand that, your perspective will shift. Hesitation becomes human, not shameful. The real progress happens when you stop waiting for the perfect mindset and decide to move anyway, even if it's messy, uncertain, or incomplete, because action teaches you more than overthinking ever will. And every imperfect attempt gives you feedback that pushes you forward. Failure stops feeling like an ending and starts feeling like information, proof that you're learning, adjusting, and growing into someone more capable. Those small imperfect steps quietly build momentum, and the version of you that once felt frozen begins to move again. So maybe the real opportunity hidden inside boredom isn't escape, it's creation. It's recognizing that tiny gap between endless scrolling and meaningful action, and choosing to step into something real. And once you start moving, even just a little, you begin to realize that the stuck feeling was never permanent. It was just the space before growth. So now the real question isn't whether procrastination exists, it's what you're going to do with everything you've learned today. Will you build something you've been putting off? Start the idea that's been sitting in your head for months? Take one uncomfortable step towards the future you keep imagining? Or will you fall back into the same loop and pretend nothing has changed? Whatever you decide, just remember every meaningful life starts with one small decision to move differently. Thank you for watching. Seriously. If this video made you think even a little, let me know what topics you want next or what you'd like me to improve down in the comments. And again, don't just watch life leave you behind. Go create something worth remembering in the next one. Goodbye.